It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. It's Tuesday evening, May the 2nd, 2017. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. We're covering crude oil, S&P, gold, euro, and FDAX tonight. Crude's getting tossed around like a rag doll on the chart today as news from OPEC and API sent prices in both directions, giving us trading opportunities on both sides, setting up for tomorrow. S&P's range bound with a triangle, telling us to look for failures around the edges of the range, buying low, selling high, and avoiding the middle until we see a successful breakout pullback on Wednesday's session. Gold is bullish and trying to complete a V bottom, but the bulls lack conviction, which is a big tip of the hat to the sellers looking for a retest of the lows tomorrow. Euro's bullish, but we're trading at the high of a bow tie pattern, which tells us to look for buyers to fail and selling opportunities back down to the opposite side of the range tomorrow. And of course, the FDAX is bullish with a strong push higher today, but we're trading at two major resistance levels, which tells us to avoid buying high and look for a two-legged pullback to buy down near the battle zone tomorrow. Boy, we had some big moves today, some big opportunities, but we got more coming tomorrow. We get some major news tomorrow. We get some big ranges to work with. Got another great newsletter in store for you guys tonight. Before we jump into the charts, though, I do want to remind you, the only place to watch the full-length version of this video is on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry, there's a link in the description of that YouTube video. Follow that link and come join me on the blog at Sideways Markets for the full-length version, all 5 markets and all of the analysis. While you're here watching the full-length version, don't forget to join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. Follow me on social media, lower left-hand corner, all my different social channels. Follow me on social during the week. I'm always posting important charts, links, and updates throughout the day. I just posted all the crude oil inventory levels on StockTwits, Twitter, and Facebook, and LinkedIn over the last couple hours there. Check that for more information. And of course, don't forget, we have our charts available for download, where you can always download those charts. Nice and easy. Have all the charts from today's video. Have those charts ready for your trading tomorrow. Follow that link below the video on the blog. And don't forget to grab your free pass. If you're not a member here at School of Trade, grab your free pass in the upper right-hand corner. Come join me this week in the trade room as a guest. And please don't forget, if you're brand new here to the SOT community, we get a great frequently asked questions page on our blog, and I'm always standing by to help you out 24/7, 365 if you need any help along the way. Boy, what a great day today. What a great week we've had so far. I'll take this for the rest of the month of May. Just freeze it right here, and let's keep getting these opportunities like this every single day. Now, of course, tomorrow, Wednesday, May the 3rd, we'll get ready for tomorrow's schedule here. Nothing major on the calendar here for us tonight, so nothing major on the calendar here for us tonight. Tomorrow, we get a little bit of news tomorrow morning at 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m., right, from our good friends in Great Britain. And, of course, the ECB GDP flash, right, we'll hear that at 5 a.m. tomorrow. That'll do it for the London session tomorrow morning. And then all eyes shift to 8:15. 8:15 is the employment report number from ADP. That will be a leading indicator ahead of Friday's employment situation, non-farm number on Friday morning. I don't expect to see a lot of movement off the 8:15 announcement tomorrow morning. I do expect, though, that to be used very, very well ahead of that Friday news report, right, on Friday morning at 8:30, the non-farm number on Friday morning. The big news tomorrow is me right down here, 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern time. First of all, we have the inventory report for crude oil. Now, don't forget, it's not just crude. The S&P also moves based on crude oil prices these days, and so we do expect there to be a bit of a dog wagging the tail, so to speak, where we do expect there to be some sympathy volatility on the S&P as well. Most important, though, we do expect crude oil to be a little bit slow ahead of the news and, of course, pretty violent after the news. So give it a 15-minute buffer ahead of time and then play it by ear after the news comes out. I always sit on hands about 15 minutes before that news comes out on Wednesday mornings, and I always play it by ear. It might be 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes, it might be 15 minutes before the craziness calms down. You want to wait for the craziness to calm down, find new direction, right, and then trade that new direction after the inventory report comes out. Also on the topic of inventories, don't forget we have the API report levels. I'm going to give those to you guys here in a moment. You can also scroll down below this video and find those API levels posted below the video in the text. So if you want a copy of these API levels, you're going to see those in a moment. We've got inventory levels for tomorrow. You can either wait and write them down from the video. I'll have those ready in a moment. I sent them out on my social media channels earlier on this afternoon, and you can also find them if you scroll down below this video on our blog. Follow the link that says click here to read more. You'll see the API levels, right, the inventory levels ready for you guys to use for tomorrow as well. So a couple things there tomorrow. Inventories at 10:30, 15-minute cutoff, and then again afterwards, give it at least 5, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how the price action looks afterwards. But please be very careful trading around a very violent news report that loves, right, to take rookie traders' money when they're not paying attention. So be very careful with that tomorrow. And again, right, I have the API levels waiting for you below this video, right? Just scroll down and copy those and have those ready for tomorrow. Now the next, of course, right, the big news tomorrow is the FOMC meeting announcement at 2 p.m. Eastern time. What this means is you can expect most markets, some markets more than others, such as gold and the euro, anything really highly correlated to the US dollar. The FOMC announcements at 2 p.m., that means pretty much anything after 11 o'clock, 11:15, 11:30 tomorrow morning is going to be off limits. You usually are going to see the volume dry up pretty quickly after 11 a.m. on Fed Day. Big traders can't afford to get stuck in moves ahead of the FOMC announcement, and there is anticipated, right, to be quite the volatile reaction to the FOMC announcement tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So recapping, careful as we go after 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Be very careful on markets that are correlated to the dollar. Gold being the big mover, euro being a close second. We don't normally see crude oil too big of an impact based on FOMC. S&P obviously, right, E-minis will definitely be caught up in the excitement of the FOMC announcement. We're not expecting anything different tomorrow. We're not expecting them to raise rates tomorrow, but hey, who knows what will come out during that announcement, right, during that live Q&A that follows the announcement right at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So keep your eyes and ears open. And again, big news events tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. I always remind you guys, there are so many great, reliable trading opportunities we find every week that do not require us to be trading during that illiquid and dangerous time of the week during major news. So please be careful leading into it and most importantly, after it. Very difficult to make consistent returns trading news. You might get lucky every once in a while, but it's difficult, right, to catch lightning a couple times a month. Usually we'll make money, give more back, right? So be very careful when it comes to trading news tomorrow. Again, grab the inventory numbers below the video tonight, right? And of course, don't forget, we'll be trading this plan tomorrow with all of our clients in the trade room. Come out and join me 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we'll see you guys there. We got a lot to cover here tonight. We got crude, S&P, gold, euro, and of course, we can't forget about the FDAX here tonight. Once again, opening up here on crude oil, you can see a copy of the inventory levels for Wednesday. You can write those down, or you can scroll down on the blog and find a copy of those right below the video posted here this evening. Crude is bullish in the short term and bearish in the long term as price collapsed just after lunch on the news from OPEC, and then rebounded on the API report just before the end of the session today, getting tossed around like a ship without a rudder here on this Tuesday session. The bears have a spike in channel, telling them to wait for a correction off the lows for selling opportunities back down to retest the low tomorrow. The bulls, on the other hand, they have a support trend line and a strong move higher to work with. The bears want to sell high, but this move is a little too strong to fade at this point. So the best option is to get below that support trend line and use that as resistance for a two-legged correction back down to the lows. Buyers, on the other hand, yeah, they're looking for something similar. The buyers want to see a two-legged pullback of their own to avoid buying high tomorrow. Where do we start here? Where do we start here on the crude? The day started off here as a bull session this morning, which we were expecting. If we talked about this on last night's newsletter, right, we finished the day yesterday right at the lows. And so we were expecting to see a bit of a short covering rally and then a retest of today's low. So if you watched last night's newsletter, this move should not have surprised you whatsoever today. Now, what was a little bit surprising was to hear from OPEC at the end of the, what was it, 1:30? Yeah, 1:45 this afternoon, right? Basically, the Saudis came out and said, we don't see any purpose on trying to cut production or prop this thing up anymore. I guess throwing in the proverbial towel, so to speak, waving the white flag. And of course, that sent prices screaming lower to that prior week and prior month low that we talked about in last night's newsletter. Now, of course, that strong move down, anytime we see a strong spike in one direction, we always watch for a possible spike in channel, spike in range, spike in wedge, right? Flag pattern. There are 4 different scenarios that we look for whenever we see a spike in one direction. With that said, we see price go up, hit the moving average, and come back down to make a new lower low. That new lower low is highly important because it tells me now this is not a spike in range, it's not going to be a flag, it's going to be a spike in channel or a spike in wedge. Now, of course, before we can even react to this, though, look what happens next. Now, of course, it's 4:30 p.m. every Tuesday afternoon. Yep, every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m., just before Wednesday's inventory report, we hear from the American Petroleum Institute. The API report comes out, and price skyrockets right back up. Again, like I said, getting tossed around right like a ship without a rudder here today. News from the Saudis comes out, sends price lower, API comes back out, and I would imagine it's trying to pretty much go right back to where it started. You know, a lot of times news events come, big drop, big pop, and we usually end up right where we started. Usually it takes a little bit longer than an hour later, right? Usually it's the following day we end up back to where OPEC news first started. Today you can see, though, that API report certainly helped things out. So we finished off the day today with a strong bear spike in channel, right? That strong bear spike in channel is really quite obvious, and the bears want to sell back down to retest that low, but this move higher here is really, really strong. You're definitely trying to catch a kind of speeding freight train here, trying to fade that move, and of course we have this rising support trend line. So I've got to give the edge right now to the bears, right? I've got to give the edge overall to the bears, but it looks like this market is in the hands of the bulls until the bears can get a position here, right, to really get some confidence to take this lower. As you can see, this trend line here is going to be one of our most valuable assets here for the sellers. The sellers need to see this market slow down, get back below that trend line, try to sell high, and really try to use that trend line as an area of resistance for a move back down. Now, if it happens to turn a little bit more of a bloodbath here to the lows, right, if it screams lower, then look for that two-legged correction off the low, all right, and look for that sell a little bit lower down on that chart. Does that make sense, right? So 2 opportunities here for the bears right now. Again, I'm not too confident here to be selling into that strong move higher. I realize, right, it's off of news, but the problem though is we oftentimes see a kind of a counter trend move ahead of the inventory report, right? The inventory report tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. So this could be a big bull run here over the next 6, 8, 12 hours, all the way until we hear right from the 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m. inventory report tomorrow morning. We might find ourselves all the way back up right into this range that we saw earlier, right, on the back of this API report. It was a significant, from what I read this afternoon, it was the biggest draw in inventories, the API report, right, in the last 4 years. So it's a pretty bullish number we saw at 4:30. Will it be bullish enough, right, to persuade these bears to step away from this? We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But bottom line is, if you're a bear right now, be very careful to fade this move. I want to get back below it, right? Use that trend line as resistance, right? And that will be a great selling opportunity. Just stay patient with it. If it does go a little bit lower here, right? If it happens to collapse a little bit lower, not to worry. That collapse will take the confidence away from the buyers and will give those sellers a chance, right, to do the same thing right back to the downside. So it all depends on, right, it all depends on kind of how this market pulls back. If it collapses back down, then we'll look for that two-legged correction, right, to get that move back lower, right? If it just kind of pokes its head below her, perfect, below her, right? If it just pokes its head lower, right, then of course we want to use that trend line not as support, right, but as resistance here tomorrow. Then obviously if price does keep going higher here, right, we want to see this big strong move up. Anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, we always know the odds are very high that they're going to retest that high here. Again, it's a little bit of a variable here tonight because of that strong move down that we saw to finish off the session today. The odds are pretty high though. The bulls are going to finish off, right, a retest of that high. I'm definitely watching for a spike in channel right now for the bulls. We'll need more information on this obviously, right? Possible spike in wedge. right? Possible spike and range. Excellent session today. We've had a great month of May. We've had a great year so far. 2017, right, has been one of the best years on record here for us in our trade room. Hope you guys are enjoying the newsletter. Don't forget, if you're tuning in right now on our YouTube channel, this is only a small snippet of the entire newsletter. Follow that link in the description of the YouTube video and follow me over the blog at Sideways Markets. While you're there, don't forget to check out the website here at schooloftrade.com. Join our free trial. I get questions every day of the week. How do you trade? What do you trade? When are you trading, right? What are your setups? What are your analysis? You can learn all about that on our free trial at schooloftrade.com. There's a link in the description of the YouTube video. And please don't forget about our professional trader transformation, our beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels of membership, right? That'll walk you through from starting your career on solid ground, learning all the technicals, right? And joining us in the trade room alongside all the advanced members. Have questions? Good, I'm here to help. Hit me up on live support on the right-hand side of the website, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning in the trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern time. If not, same time, same place. We'll do it tomorrow night on a Wednesday edition of our nightly newsletter. I'm out of here for now, guys. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.